Hello, lovely people. I'm doing this random live here on YouTube on the channel just to see who pops in to say hello. I'm procrastinating big time today. I want to see who comes along to visit. I've got some stock around me today, probably less than I usually have. Over this shoulder, it's a snowboard that I picked up at the weekend. That could possibly be a fail. And over this shoulder, these are possibly not a fail. So these are interactive bicycle trainers, the Elite Diretto. How you doing, Darren? How's your day going? Are you having a bit of a skive as well? This is me absolutely properly procrastinating. I should be listening today, but this week has just been bizarre. I've been really busy and I don't seem to have got anything done. How you doing, Mark? So Darren's in. Very attractive there, Darren. Very suave and sophisticated, sir. Mark, charity shop's dead now. All good stuff put on eBay. Oh, I don't know, Mark. What I'm finding is making contacts is absolutely the way forward. If you get talking to people in the charity shops, then you'll be surprised how interested in talking to resellers they are, because resellers help their stock turn over faster. So don't be afraid to talk to them, and particularly the management and whatnot. Limelight Vinny. Hello, Limelight Vinty. Whereabouts are you from? It's a very interesting name. Mr. Parkinson, how the devil are you, sir? Why aren't you in work? Bloody skiver. What are you up to today, Pete? And why aren't you coming to Germany? Wendy, how are you today? Sharon's in as well. Mark, yeah, absolutely, Mark. It's all about the contacts, particularly going forward into winter. Obviously, if boot sales are closed, which are still a phenomenal source of sourcing stock. Moving forward into winter, those contacts will be absolutely golden. Limelight Vinty from Manchester, just down the road. Pete's good. You're at work. I hope you're not bloody on YouTube and driving your pallet handler thingy-majig. That's just not on, sir. Malcolm me? Is it Malcolm Y35? Sharon, am I going to any car boots this weekend? Highly likely. I'm actually going away for a week at the end of the month, so I need to be paying it forward on the videos, because I like to get one out every Saturday at 5 o'clock. You guys are probably well aware. So I'm going to try and hit a few extra, or at least film a few extra of the boot sales that I am going to, so I can kind of pay the content forward for YouTube. But yeah, this weekend, Saturday, I'm hoping to get over to Fylde Coast again, I'm liking Norcross and I'm liking Billsborough at the minute. I've kind of fallen out of love with Greenhouse a bit, but it's one of them. It just takes one seller to turn it all around. I've done really well at a Greenhouse, very rare, but I suppose you can kind of put yourself off going to certain boot sales if you have a few sort of like, I suppose, unsuccessful visits. Who else we got? Sire, afternoon, sir. How are you? Dave Tea Cakes, how are you? Good afternoon, everyone. My name's David, and I sell shit on the internet. There's a striking coincidence. How you doing today, Dave? You well, sir? Sales are the unexpected. One of my favorite people to watch live. Very informative. I've been slacking with your List 5 lives just lately. Mark, how are you, sir? Mainly sold PC parts, 14.5k so far this year. Nice. Do you buy new to flip, or do you break PCs? What's the script there, Mark? Sharon, off from Wigan, me at Norcross. Ah, yeah, of course, Sharon. Were you the lady that was there with your mum, or are you the mum of the lady? If you are that person, you'll know what I mean. If you're not, you're probably very confused now. You'll have to forgive me, Sharon. I mean, obviously, you've not got a profile picture anyway, kind of thing. I am awful with names. I'm even more awful putting names with the faces. Lee, how are you? Thank you very much indeed, Lee. Very much appreciate your support. I've got one coming out. In fact, one of the reasons that I'm doing this live is because I'm currently working on Saturday's video, and I've just loved doing it. Every now and again, I'm very conscious that my videos are getting a bit samey. I know obviously you guys like the boot sales and go around that, and they're my most successful videos by quite a long way. I don't mind doing that kind of stuff because obviously I'm into it as well. They hit well, but every now and again I get really self-conscious that they're a bit samey and all that kind of stuff, particularly if nothing notable happens. And although I have used sort of like clickbaity titles in the past, I'm not a massive fan of doing it because I just think it's a massive anticlimax to the people who are watching the videos. Anyway, that aside, this Saturday's video is brilliant, even if I do say so myself, for a few reasons. We just had a laugh. I went with Dominic, my lad Dominic, and we just had a good crack. The banter was there. We went off to Wales, which is a great boot sale over at Shirk. Obviously, I had the crack there with a few people. But at the end of Saturday's video, there is a very special treat, very, very special treat. And I've had to get permissions from the artist concerned as well. Over Bank Holiday weekend, I was working at the motorcycle club that I'm involved with. I've rejoined the club that I originally founded, and their bikers rally was over August Bank Holiday weekend. On the Sunday afternoon, might sound like I'm rambling a bit, but bear with me. On the Sunday afternoon, there was an acoustic session, and one of the artists that performed was a chap called Ashley Sherlock, and he absolutely blew my mind. It's sort of like a rock and blues kind of artist. He was there doing obviously an acoustic set, but he is part of the Ashley Sherlock band as well. Check this guy out on YouTube. He's amazing. Anyway, I've got permissions to use his music video. So the end of the show on my video on Saturday is one of his original songs. You need to check this out. It's just brilliant. Anyway, back to the chat. Sharon's trying Bershka this Sunday. Very, very good boot sale. You need to get there early. Normally when I'm getting to Bershka, I'm there no later than about 5:30. Obviously this time of year it's going to be dark. Take a decent torch with you. But it can be a bit of a slow start at that time. But at least by the time it's picking up speed, you're picking up speed as well, kind of thing. And the coffee's kicked in. Stevio, what job did you do before reselling? Immediately before reselling. In fact, when I started reselling, I was still working full time as well for probably 3 years. I worked for a motorcycle wholesaler, a MotoGB, a cracking firm to work for. I was with them for 15 years, doing various jobs, mostly driving towards the latter years. But because I'm a biker myself, I loved the job. It didn't hurt that I was getting discounts on bikes as well. So, but yeah, that was me. And it probably because of the nature of the job is what kept me there for so long, to be honest. Yeah, so that was me. Dave, yeah, Grant, are you? Absolutely, Dave. I am bloody tickety boo. Like I said, I've not had a very productive week this week because of a few reasons. But sales this last, probably getting on for 2 months now, have been frighteningly good. I've never known it be this good. Hopefully everybody is experiencing the same thing. This isn't showing, don't know why. Mark, buy second hand on eBay and resell on eBay. Fantastic. Best way to do it, Mark. Fair play to you. Sharon's going to Bershka with the hubby. Okay. Doesn't make life any easier, Sharon. I'm sorry. It's just the face of the name. I'm shocking though. Anyway, just poke me with a stick next time you see me, just to tell me off, whatever. And your recording was working. Okay. Oh, and my recording wasn't working. Oh, fair enough. Sorry about that. No 15 minutes of fame there. Darren, do you do charity shops, Dave? I find them expensive. Yes, yes, and well, I do charity shops. Of course, I do, particularly in winter. Mostly during the summer months, during boot sale season, I'm more relying on those and contacts that I've made at charity warehouses where I can go in, say, once a month and get free rein. I have an exceptionally good relationship with 2 or 3 sites that have just been gold to me. I treat them like gods, obviously, and treat them very, very well. What I find with those is the people that run these places know that I'll turn up regularly. They know that I'll spend several hundred play. In fact, over the years, there's a couple of them I've probably spent tens of thousands of pounds with. And of course, I'll keep going back as well. So they think the sun shines at my house as well. As far as finding them expensive is concerned, town centre ones usually are. They have obviously a higher rate rent and whatnot to pay. I'm not sure if charities pay business rates, but anyway, just because of the nature of being in town centres, they're going to be more expensive. So I find them, yes, the ones that are out to town, smaller towns and villages, perhaps more obscure charities, not so much really. But again, it's what I try to do is not fall into a routine. I have my usual routes of usual charity shops that I go to. Like I say, more regularly during the winter, but I try and look outside of that box as well, go further afield, try different areas. And yeah, like you say, a lot of them I find expensive, but it's all out there to be had. It is all out there to be had. I'd never, ever, ever worry about competition from other resellers because not everybody's looking for the same thing, and people are looking for things for different reasons as well. They have different skill levels. So I never worry about that either. Sam, afternoon, Dave. If you give yourself one bit of advice when you first started, what would it be? That is a great question, Sam. One bit of advice. I mean, I listened to a lot of advice before I started. I think the most important bit of advice that I received was keep reinvesting. Don't take any money. If you can possibly afford it, don't take any money at all. Keep reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting, because that's when you'll scale your business. If you have any aspirations to go full time, the longer you can do that, the quicker you will achieve being able to get rid of your day job kind of thing. So that's very, very important. What a hindsight advice that I'd give myself. I'll have to come back to that, you know. That is a really good question, Sam. Let me have a think on that. Do you think eBay will last as we've got Facebook and other platforms? Absolutely, Mick. Without question. eBay is by far and away, it's just a leviathan in its own right. There is no compromise. There is no comparison. And I think moving forward, as other platforms develop, the likes of Vinted, Etsy, Depop, so on and so forth, become more popular, there's no argument to say that they will take some of eBay's business, but I think eBay will evolve itself as well. I think eBay's here to stay. I really do. Facebook Lives, you can get some stuff for resale and make a profit on. Absolutely, yeah. I've picked up quite a number. I've done very well off Marketplace. I find it very frustrating to deal with Marketplace, both buying and selling, but I have scored big. In fact, my single biggest win on Marketplace was, I think it was a window firm, I want to say. They were clearing out a load of office equipment, and I picked up 5 laser printers, 2 color and 3 mono. I paid 99p for them. That might have been, in fact, thinking about it, that might have been a local collection on eBay. I know I'm growing grey. Ever since I started growing my hair, this senility is coming out. Anyway, I'll finish that story. 99p for 5 laser printers. 3 of them were knackered. I think one of the colour ones worked, and one of the mono ones worked. I sold those for about 190 quid for the colour, and around about the 40-50 pound for the mono one. So off 99p, that was great. Anyway, marketplace, similar story, but I'm struggling for an anecdote. Facebook marketplace is good for buying. Yeah, absolutely, but same markets. I find it very frustrating. Sometimes if I've got big stuff that is perhaps a bit too big to post, I don't mind posting big stuff that I've sold on eBay, but if it's big and not a lot of margin, I'd rather flip it on marketplace and put it through my books as a cash sale. It just makes that bit easier. But I find, well, I don't have to tell any of you guys how frustrating potential buyers on a marketplace are. Who else we got? Good afternoon, Ali. How are you? Okay, people saying hello. Show some skills on that skateboard, on that snowboard. Not a hope in hell. No, I had a bit of banter. Like I said, I picked it up. In fact, it was on Warrington on the way back. At Warrington on the way back from church this weekend. I had a bit of banter with the seller, and I said I might take it on green laning or whatever the snowboarding equivalent of green laning is. But even no, I'll break myself. I'm an old man now. My Dave, saw the VHS on eBay working. Guy said it worked last week, but it's not working now. It says no return on my post, offered partial refund, but he declined. What should I do? Sometimes you have to take the hit. I'm assuming from what you're saying, Liam, that you're selling on eBay on a personal account. I think it boils down to how much do you value your reputation. Now, me personally, as a business seller, I have to offer 30-day returns, and I have the most ridiculously stupid reasons for a return, and mostly I have to sort of like take it on the chin. Make sure, well, I would accept the return, because otherwise you're on the risk of damaging your reputation. Make sure what the item you get back, obviously don't refund until you've got the item back. When you get the item back, make sure it's the item you sent out. If it is, whether it is or whether it isn't working, that is the most important thing. If it isn't, either way, really, I'd refund them. Maybe you might be able to sell it spares or repairs. It's unlikely with the VCR, and just take it on the chin, move on, and trade through it. In fact, I've had a saxophone. I sold a saxophone for 230 quid. That's been returned this week. Obviously, that was a kick in the pants, big time. For anybody, that kind of return's painful, but it's just one of those things. I always say in that instance, just push forward, sell another 4 or 5 things to compensate for any hit that you might be taking. MPG, did anyone go to eBay seminar this morning? No, they keep emailing me about it. In fact, there's one coming up. I think it's the eBay Live on the 22nd, is it? They've sent me quite a few invites to that, but I've declined because I'm not in the UK, basically. Bumblebee Police. Auction is also... All right, okay. I've vaguely got a recollection of that being in a conversation mark. I might check that out. I use Easy Live auction site, and it's a bit of a minefield, but I'm learning as I go with auctions. I'm not a bloody expert on anything, but particularly not auctions. One thing that I am learning, and a very, very important lesson, is go and see the items that you're going to be bidding on, regardless of whether you're there in person for the auction or you're bidding online. Go and see the stuff, because otherwise you could be buying a load of crap that just looks shiny online. Do you have an account? I have no idea where to start when it comes to taxes. Oh, an accountant. I don't have an accountant. I do my books myself. I use QuickBooks. I won't be offering any advice whatsoever because I'm not qualified, but what I will say is QuickBooks is very easy to use. You can integrate it with your bank accounts and whatnot. You can actually, if you want to get an accountant, which is probably best to seek any kind of any accounting advice from an accountant if you're stuck. But what I've found, and the way I went about it, is I researched my tax obligations directly with HMRC on the website. HMRC, a lot of people think they're sort of like it's Satan and his armies out to get you and all that kind of stuff. It's not the case at all, because HMRC want everybody to toe the line. So, well, obviously that's a contentious point when you look at the likes of Jeff Bezos, etc. But I won't go down the rabbit hole. HMRC website's very, very handy. QuickBooks, very, very easy to use. So I have a separate account for all my business dealings, so it just makes it a lot simpler. So you're not sifted, you're not trying to separate transactions. So yeah, QuickBooks is what I use. So heads up, Royal Mail strike end of the month, last Friday and Saturday. If you know, going to be another 2 days pay down. Thank God for eBay. Yeah, do you know what? I took some preventative measures because of the recent strikes. Obviously, they've cancelled one because of the news about the Queen kind of thing. But the first one, I didn't notice any difference at all. I think I had one item delayed, but aside from that, it's all been hunky dory. I did send. I'm going to sound like such a hypocrite now. I did send quite a few items over, sort of like I think one after one weekend, so quite a few items to send out. I sent quite a few with every. Not a fan, but I had limited options for the budget. Bit of advice for Liam from Dave. If you're on eBay, you can do is send a return label. Yeah, you can. I'm not sure if it's the same with a personal account, but if somebody opens a return and depending on the reason for it returning, say it's either not as described, which is extremely rare, and because I describe my item as well, or gets broken up, arrives damaged, that kind of stuff, I stand the cost of the label and it's automatically generated for the buyer. If it's sort of like if I'm selling shoes or clothes and the reason for the return doesn't fit, then the buyer stands the cost. Distance selling regs have to return. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, Dave. I don't know the intricacies of that on personal accounts on eBay, because I do have a personal account on eBay. I think I've used it for donkey's years though. Ever since sort of like late 2017, I've been on a business account. A private account, my reviews 100%. I want to keep it that way. Yeah, absolutely. It can be a bitter pill. Like I say, this 200 odd quid saxophone, even as long in the tooth as I am, and having this similar experiences in the past, it's still deflating. But again, it's important that you keep your reputation. It's like everything online. People don't read good reviews. They only read bad reviews. eBay's very similar in that regard. So protect your reputation. How you doing, Dave? Darren even? Talking to myself then. No surprise there then. Mad Maz. I've watched your habit videos and they're very good people skills. Thank you very much indeed. Do you think this massively helps when negotiating? Charm always helps when you're negotiating. I've had a few people over the years sort of like pull me up on stuff like that. I've got a thick skin. I never take any negative comments through the videos to heart at all because of intent. My intention is absolutely genuine. I've said about, particularly where YouTube's concerned, I've said 1,000 times before, it's not about the money. It can't be. Yes, I do get a bit of ad revenue and whatnot, but it doesn't pay for the time that I put into producing the videos. So I kind of gone a bit off point here, Maz. Anyway, short answer is yes. It definitely does help me in negotiating. I appreciate that I'm a bit of a, pardon the expression, I'm a bit of a gobshite. I'm not lacking in the confidence department very much. And I appreciate that some people are, but if you can dig deep and if you've got good intentions and you're a personable person, if you're not naturally rude, then you'll get more wins than you will rejections. Yes, I was at church last Sunday. Very foggy. My lad Dominic was absolutely bricking it. He thought something was going to come and get us out of the fog. Mr. Fixie, how are you doing? Good to see you at Norcross a couple of weeks back. I've just started selling full time. Any tips? Yes, keep going. In fact, just the tip that I gave that I'm going to come back to that Sam mentioned earlier. Keep reinvesting. If you're working a full-time job, and it depends on your reason to for reselling in the first place. If you have, like I say, if you have aspirations of going full-time and quitting your daytime job, you need to make that gap in between considering making that leap and actually making that leap as long as possible, and prove to yourself over and over that you can make what you need to earn from reselling before you leave your full-time job. When you finally do get to that stage, make sure you've got a decent amount behind you to cover eventualities. I'm running at a minimum of 3 months. So basically, if I break my leg or something like that, and I can't fulfill a reselling business, then at least I've got that bit of a buffer zone. And the second, and probably equally as important, in fact, this beautifully timed question, because I'm going to answer Sam's question that I said to come back to. The other bit of advice I would give myself is go to war with any debt that you've got, whether it be car payments, whether it be paying for items, credit cards, whatever it is. Go to war on it and do everything you absolutely bust a bollock to pay that down before you make that leap. Purely and simply for the fact that it's overheads. The less overheads you've got, the more successful you'll be, because you'll be able to keep reinvesting more of your revenue, of what you make from reselling, and that will grow your business. Cha-ching King. I was watching the other day. Hello, by the way. That's it. It was. I was watching one of Night's Life's videos the other day, looking at some of your rather impressive t-shirts. I was very jealous. I'm not fishing, by the way. Yeah, it was quite foggy and busy, definitely. It's been. I've got bigger successes from Chirk, but no complaints at all. Milky Eye Dave, hope you will. What's your stance on selling items to buyers with no feedback? Just sold an item, the buyer joined this month. There's no transactions, thank you. I have no problems at all selling to people like that, because you can't prejudge. It's probably for the same reasons. You probably might have to bear with me on this one because it's a bit of a stretch. The same reasons when you'll see on some Facebook groups that are reselling related, people saying everybody needs to block such and such a person because of X, Y, Z. I never block those people, because that's just an isolated incident on that one transaction. People are setting up eBay accounts all the time. They might be specifically looking, they might have set an eBay account up specifically looking for the item that you're selling. So I won't prejudge. I won't prejudge at all. Just make sure that obviously you do your bit, being honest and going through the process. I'd probably be a little bit more tempted to send any items that they buy signed for. But aside from that, no, not a problem at all selling to people with zero feedback. Sharon, is selling new and pre-loved items, do you need business insurance, etc.? No, No, I've never, ever, ever come across an instance where that was an issue, or I've been asked before. I might have been asked in this kind of scenario before, but never come across an instance where that's the case. I mean, granted, the vast majority of the items that electrical items specifically that I'm buying to resell have been pack tested anyway. Although, if you just see my recent Instagram post, you still have to do your due diligence, because I sold a Laura Ashley brass lamp, I think it was last week, that had been pack tested a week before, and the cable was almost ripped in half with exposed wires. So anyway, read into that what you will. Advice on putting money aside for taxes. Do I need an accountant? I think that question was answered earlier on. You don't need an accountant. If you want any accountancy advice, then an accountant is the best person to be speaking to. But you don't have to. You don't have to go to that expense. I never have gone to the expense of an accountant initially, because I couldn't justify the expense compared to any potential savings that an accountant might have given me. But I just got kind of used to doing it myself. So research on HMRC what your obligations are. I won't make comment on that because I'm not a tax professional. But as far as keeping your books are concerned, a lot of people use spreadsheets. I find them taxing, to be honest. Pardon the pun. I don't do spreadsheets. I use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is, I think, something like £9.60 a month, and brilliant, because the app will track your mileage as well, so you can actually offset your mileage going to and from boot sales, from charity shops and whatnot. You can offset that against the tax as well, and it tracks through the app to do that. I've kind of lost track a little bit on the chat. Here we go. Oh, here we are. Just fix it. Lee. Completely agree. You work full time in 2018. A debt could kill your business before it gets off the ground. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position where my bills are quite low. I live on my own. My bills are quite low. It's a mortgage, which I think most people know now. Most mortgages, you're paying considerably less than you are for current renting, particularly if you've had your mortgage for a while. But yeah, definitely go to war on your debt. I can't stress that enough. I would have loved, and I can't tell you how much I mean this, I would have absolutely loved to gone full-time reselling a year before I did, but it was just too, I mean, it was terrifying doing it when I did do it, let alone a year earlier, because I did have a bit of credit card debt. I think I was paying a car off or something like that. I was coming to the end of the terms, but I was absolutely certain that I would have tripped before I got going if I left my full-time safe job to go full-time reselling with that debt around my neck. Debt is a prison. It is an absolute prison. Answered that one. What's your plans to get in stock during winter this year? It's going to be a mixture. I mean, like as I said earlier, I've got some very good contacts for charity shop managers and charity warehouse managers that I go to once or twice a month and do very well out of. I'm putting a lot of effort into researching auctions and best practices at the minute. So there's that. And if you have an online presence, I mean, YouTube, going back to what I was saying before about the reasons for doing YouTube, it's entirely genuine reasons. I really do love helping people. But one of the, I suppose, perks of putting the effort into creating the content is opportunities come up all the time. And the same with Instagram. I got a message from a chap in Blackburn yesterday offering me a load of brand new motorcycle gear. Now, if it wasn't for probably for YouTube, and then as a sort of like a backup to that Instagram, that connection never would have been made. So, and paying it forward as well. I mean, obviously, if you can, there's a great temptation when times are good and you're getting loads of stock from boot sales and you're turning the stock through and the revenue's great. There's a temptation to sit in your laurels. the best time to advertise or to source stock is when you're doing well, because obviously cash flow is helping, but you're paying it forward. I don't do the death pile thing. I try to get things listed as quickly as possible, even seasonal stuff. But if you can get that ball rolling and have that buffer zone going into winter because of the extra effort you've put in during the summer, then it'll see you in good stead. Good. Answering questions. Fishing, shipping, and it's going to be a percentage. I wasn't fishing, mate, honestly. Oh, that's brilliant. They are really, really cool t-shirts, by the way. I genuinely wasn't fishing. I don't want you out of pocket, but I very much appreciate the offer. Maybe I'll come over and collect one in person. How'd that be? That's on the cards. If you're familiar with the Carolina Claus, I keep threatening to just knock on his door and pay a visit to Santa and Mrs. Claus. I was supposed to happen this year, actually, but things kind of got ahead of me. I have no problems with people with low feedback, get more problems with people with high feedback. Yeah, it's one of that. I mean, prejudging in this game, you just can't. Or we got 0 feedbacks. Unless for maybe a few £100. Yeah, there's always that. But even in that instance, you can cover your backside by obviously try for, if it's local, I'd drop it off. I've done that before as well. Low feedback. And, you know, sometimes you get, I'm guilty of prejudging myself as much as I try not to, but you kind of get a bit of a feeling that's almost always wrong. I've had larger sales and just taking them around in person because it's been in Bolton, Preston, Wigan, wherever it might have been. I won't go so far as video me dropping them off kind of thing, but that's crossed my mind as well. Lisa's saying, I'll sell to 0 feedback, but I have a couple that never bothered paying. Yeah, this is, I mean, that's not really, it's just a minor inconvenience. Then is obviously you wouldn't have sent the item in that instance anyway. I get that every now and again. It's usually, well, it's always off the back of offers because all of my buy it now items are set to require immediate payment. Obviously, if you're selling something as a result of an offer that you've sent out, you can't do that. And I've had a couple of instances. It's really rare, but the people don't pay, and after 4 days you cancel the sale, blah blah blah, and just restock it in. It's just a minor inconvenience. A few haven't paid recently with over 1,000 feedback. Yeah, go figure. Milky, no problem at all, sir. Richard, we were just talking about you actually. With the Cha-Ching King. I had t-shirt envy watching your video the other day. I'm still gutted that I only found out after the fact you was flogging that GH5. Do you know how long I've wanted one of those cameras? And all the accessories that he had with it. You're probably saving my tears by not telling me how much it went for, so I appreciate that, Rich. If it's unusual specific items, someone will create an account specifically to buy that item. I found absolutely 100%, Dave. Absolutely. So again, it goes back to the prejudging thing. Somebody, if you're selling something that's slightly unusual or rare, hard to find, etc., then people will have seen the eBay ad or your eBay listing as an ad on Google, say. So they might have Googled it, found it. Oh, I haven't got an eBay account, but I want that item. Set up an eBay account. Job's a good one. You make the sale. Do you need to pat test electrical items as a business seller? I have never found a requirement. I've never found anything that's in the instance of reselling small electricals, for example, on eBay as a reseller. I have never found precedent that there's a requirement for that to be the case. That's my answer to that question. But as I said before, fortunately, because of the places that I'm buying that kind of equipment from, more often than not, they're pat tested. One of the chaps, John Walsh, the guy who moderates the Facebook group for me, he has recently gone through pat testing as well, and he he likes to do things properly, does John. So he knows all the ins and outs of it. And I showed him the post about Laura Ashley lamp that I mentioned earlier, and he's anyway. I won't repeat what he said. He wasn't very kind about the pat tester, that's for sure. Lisa, I think I'm a target, but I'm still quite new to eBay. I only had 2 sales, and people are trying to get me to do business on WhatsApp. So I just only do absolutely, yeah. You'll get in trouble straight away if you start suggesting completing transactions outside of eBay. It happens to me. It happens to me quite a bit as well, because I've made sales through my eBay store to people that have come to me via the YouTube channel or Instagram, and they mentioned they don't ask for discounts or anything like that, but they mention YouTube, and I suppose I can be quite curt with them, because it's got to just be about the item. It's just got to be about the transactions on eBay. So I don't get into any kind of personal conversations or friendly conversations. It's specifically about a transaction. So you're absolutely right to say no, even if it means turning down business, or I mean, that sounds like a scam anyway, but even if it means turning down business, then do that rather than run the risk of it affecting your account. Or on your debt, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Yeah, debt is a prison. It took me a painful amount of years to realize that, because I suppose a lot of people do. You want nice things when you're in your teens and 20s and all that kind of stuff, when every man jacking his dog of an institution is trying to say, here's some free money, pay me back in 20 years time, blah blah blah, you know the script. It's very, very easy to trip down that rabbit hole, but if you can get rid of it, it's just liberating. I suppose I was like that for a long time. So the liberation from debt, it feels more pronounced. I mean, my youngest daughter never really has that. She's always been really shrewd and savvy with money, or not. She's not tight, but she's careful with the money. If she can't afford it, she don't buy it. And I've got a massive amount of admiration for that. But not everybody's the same. If you can sort of like train yourself to be like that, it'll see you in good stead. I can't do his best to pick up a shoebox quarterly. That's what I can't as needed. I don't have to think about it. That is a bridge that fortunately I haven't had to cross just yet, and I have no interest at the minute in crossing the VAT threshold. I'm quite happy with the way things are and my turnover being under the VAT threshold. So in fact, I'm finding it, I mean, there's a lot of reasons I don't want to go down that road if I can avoid it, but I'm finding it quite exciting trying to increase my margins rather than increase my turnover to get greater returns. So that's my challenge, and I think that mentality, I mean, it's just me, I'm not saying it's for everybody, that mentality, I think in the long run will see me in good stead. I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? See me in good stead. Should write a very short book, Dave and his mannerisms. Great points, Dave. Around to having backup stock before you start full time. Yeah, backup stock's great. Personally speaking, I'd rather that stock be there because I've had a kind of a tidal wave in and I can't keep up with it listing, rather than save stock specifically, if that makes sense. So, I mean, I've got quite a bit to go out at the minute because I've had a really good run of sourcing, but it's going to peck at my head until it's all listed. In fact, a perfect example, again, I'm going to be referencing Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, by the way, it's at ABL Reselling. A lot of the sales that I make that are notable or kind of interesting, I'll put on there. Just recently, I sold a vintage steel train. It was not a Polar Express. It was just a steel Christmassy decorated train with some what they called the lights in, the fiber optic lights, and a presents in it kind of thing. Santa was driving it, that kind of stuff. And it sold last week for about 35 quid. So get it listed. Yeah. But anyway, that's my take on the stock situation. I've never done an auction, but due to not driving, any auctions offer delivery. Most do, Lisa. If you have a look at Easy Live Auction, just type it into Google, you'll find it. That is, I suppose, a portal for auction houses up and down the country. I find it really, really easy to use. You can sort by auction houses that are near you. So it's easier. Different auction houses offer different services. Almost all of them. I haven't come across one that don't offer delivery. But one thing I will say on auction houses is make sure you are fully aware of all the fees before you bid, because sometimes different auction houses have different criteria and different commission rates and that kind of stuff. So before you bid on anything, do your research and make sure your sums are right. And obviously, if you need it delivering, factor that in as well. Very important. Any tips for how to find decent charity shops? Yep, keep looking. That never ever changes as well. I have a few that I go to regularly, but as I was saying before, keep trying to expand your portfolio, because all it takes, I could be going to a charity shop that I've gone to for the last 5 years, always done well, get on really well with the staff and all that kind of stuff. All it takes is a change of manager, and all of a sudden the new manager doesn't like resellers for whatever reason. I mean, I can't imagine why they wouldn't like resellers, but you get the point. So always try and add to your portfolio, look further afield, and don't get disheartened by it. Some seem so. Yeah, a lot of them. Again, this is part of the conversation earlier. The town centre ones are almost always overpriced. It's very rare you'll get reasonable or cheap priced charity shops. I suppose that's a very ambiguous sort of like way of looking at it in town centres, because they've got higher bills. So yeah, keep looking. Have you online? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the point I mentioned as part of my own learning experience with auctions. And unless it's something that's you're really confident it is exactly what you're looking at, kind of thing, then always look at it in person. I mean, you can still get it delivered after the fact if carting it around is an issue, Lisa. I mean, because auction houses will have a viewing day. My local one, the Friday and the Saturday morning, the viewing days for the auction that's on the Monday that spills over into the Tuesday sometimes. So you could, I don't know, jump the bus or whatever, get a taxi down to your auction house, do what you got to do, mark off all the items that you want to be, all the lot numbers you want to be looking at when the auction comes up, do the auction online, and then get it delivered after that. Death piles are excuses for peeps. Bad buys and time. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a really good point, that Dave. I try not to cherry pick. Sometimes it's so tempting, and there is a bit of a rider to that, actually. I'm pretty obsessive on getting at least a couple of things. Even if I'm absolutely mowed out with something else, I'll try and get a couple of things listed a day. And if it's coming on top because I'm doing XYZ job that isn't listing, I'll just grab something that's really easy to list that I can picture and do the listing in a couple of minutes, job done, move on and crack on what I need to do. That's the only exception. But aside from that, I won't cherry pick. I'll just work through it methodically. Yeah, they're saying no need to see in person for cracks and defects. Yeah, definitely have a look. It's not that there aren't any scams on eBay, is that the perception that the tons of them isn't accurate. Scammers are actually few and far between. Yeah, absolutely. That is my experience as well. Sometimes, yeah, you have to look at it. You have to look at it from a completely professional point of view. The reason I say that is you could get a message about an item, whether it's pre or post sale, and the message could be interpreted as being rude, curt, aggressive, whatever. It might just be that's the way that person speaks, and their intent is just to get an answer to a question or to get a point across. They're not necessarily being aggressive or rude. So if you can sort of like give them the benefit of the doubt, then usually you can sort of like take that thread to a professional conclusion. And I think that's the key word, is about staying professional yourself. Remaining professional and calm has got me out of so many sticky situations where, in fact, looking at it from an opposite side of the fence, Church King, from a buyer's point of view, there is a perception with some people that sellers are scammers, as well as obviously the buyers. And if somebody is messaging you with that kind of preconception that they're potentially dealing with a scam seller, then of course they're going to be very guarded and appear rude. But if you stay professional, it'll iron out 99.9% of the creases. Good afternoon, Max. How the devil are you? We've been on for 51 minutes now, and this is only a quick one. You're most welcome, Max. Most welcome. Oh, you rich promise not to cheat on you. Yeah, whatever. I know you. Me watching ABL doesn't mean anything serious, just drunken misunderstanding. Yeah, we won't tell him about last Thursday night, Max. Chop. He'll still respect you in the morning. That's not necessarily true. Not necessarily true at all. It's the beard. It's very chafy. Right, okay, I'm going to move swiftly on. There were scams as they always offered 99p below asking price. It was the same address on mobile items. They would say they reached the eBay message limit. It does sound very, very fishy, that. Very fishy. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to go with your gut. And again, similar answer to the question that was posed earlier. If you're really, really that convinced, it's a lot easier just to walk away from a sale than run the risk of it all going tits up kind of thing. But you've got to use your own best judgment. And your own best judgment will improve the longer you're in the game. In early days of reselling, I made so many cock-ups. I had my pants pulled down by buyers, and I was fighting fires a lot because of my own naivety. It does happen. You just got to ride those waves. It does get a lot easier in terms of how you deal with it because of your own experiences. So just keep going. Good to be careful with money. Absolutely. 100%. I mean, I think the best way to look at it, and this is another top tip that I was given, and it was by a guy called Seth Kneep of Just One Dime, American. He is a reseller, but his business is developed from doing what I did, working out my back bedroom, and he has multiple businesses, multi-million dollar businesses now. Very, very shrewd guy. And it was really almost a throwaway comment that he made to me. He said, treat money as a tool. And that is tremendous advice. I look at the cash flow that I've got as far as the cash flow available to me as my business as just tools. Of course, it's an amount, but it's not an amount of money. It's an amount of tools. Are you with me on this one? Am I kind of making sense? I usually have very little in my personal account because that's just, I don't need much. And I'm relatively speaking, sitting here in me bright yellow Tommy Hilfiger hoodie that I got from a charity shop. I'm a man of simple means. So I don't need much. So I don't take much. So the business money is all tools to grow the business. And I try and improve on my toolbox rather than just take all my tools out of the toolbox to buy new toys. Okay, I'm gonna it got a little bit blurry towards the end there, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I want yeah, VAT. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, as time goes on, I'm getting less nervous about it. I think for me to want to go through the VAT threshold, I would have to smash through it and go way, way beyond. But I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's not really the intricacies and the paperwork and the hassle of being VAT registered and getting an accountant, becoming a limited company and all the associated taxes with that. It's none of that. I don't mind that at all. It's staff. To get to that level, granted, it's probably a bit of an assumption. I'm going to need somebody to help me to take the extra burden of just sustaining that kind of turnover to keep me well into over the VAT threshold. So it's like employing a picker packer, for example. I don't want staff. I'm not a big fan of people. Staff are the biggest overhead and the biggest pain in the ass. I can say that with absolute confidence for two reasons. I was an employer once upon a time, many years ago, and I just spent more time firefighting than they did actually running the bloody business. And two, I've been an arsehole employee as well. Not worth going over that threshold unless you make it a lot above. That's my assumption as well, to be honest. But to be honest with you, Lisa, I'm not, because of my own personal preferences, I've not put a lot of effort into researching it. I know where I need to steer clear of, so I don't go over that threshold and get myself in trouble. Because the one thing that I have learned is if you accidentally go over that threshold, it's a royal pain in the ass, pulling the bones out of the tax year that led up to that. So it's best to decide you're going to do it, prepare for it, get everything in place, and then do it. Okay, I'm going to skip a load of messages because I'm going to wrap this up at an hour and we're about 3 minutes off. Sold one yesterday, easy, just marked as paid and collected. Bought some proper dodgy loss and lockdown, couldn't view, didn't lose out, meant a lot of work. Yeah, you might have seen, it's a very, very small example of that I've been through. Just for content more than anything else, I bought 2 suitcases full of house clearance stuff from auction. Blind buy, I think I paid 20 quid for both, say. And when I was going through them for the video, it just looked like a load of shite. There was some real rubbish in there. And granted, probably a half of it went straight in the wheelie bin. But there was actually some really good pearls in there as well. There was a small jug. There was what they call lava vase. Lava vase. Yeah, I'm going to go with lava vase. So that's in the back of my mind now, so I can look for that style. This one tiny little vase went for about 30 odd quid. So it was an experience as well. There's a load of small brass frames. I bundled those. They went for decent money. So all in education. Sometimes going through, sifting through crap like that, Dave, it sometimes can be worth its weight in gold as far as a lesson, if nothing else is concerned. And it's obviously a bonus if you can get it pay for itself as well. Jim Jamie, watch you all the time, man. First time seeing you live. Most welcome, Jim. Thank you very much indeed for supporting the channel. I say that a lot in my videos, but that's absolutely bang on genuine. I can't believe to this day, I've been doing YouTube now for I think 2 years, and I can't believe people just watch me waffle on. I love doing it because I just love doing it. I love the creative process. I still can't believe that people watch me. Here, Dave gang, working but listening. Maybe selling at Bursko the weekend. I'll come and see you. I missed you last time, Dave, at Bursko when you said you were going. I was there as well, but I was looking out for this attractive man from over that way, but I just couldn't find any in Bursko. if I'm over at Burscough, I've not made a plan for Sunday just yet. But if I'm heading over there, I'll keep my eye out for you, buddy. I just packed 30 things today, not listing anything. Yeah, I think I've done well this morning. I've got a pile of clothes that I'm working through. Some real nice stuff as well, cherry picked from a charity warehouse. And it's a charity warehouse that I regularly get decent brands from as well. So I've listed quite a few of those this morning. So the pressure's off, but that little voice in the back of my head is saying, come on, get on with the day. So that'll be me back at it as soon as I got to the bottom of the chat. How often do I do a live? Normally when I do a live, it's like this, just properly random. So yeah, not very regularly. It's usually when I just want to feed the unrelenting YouTube algorithm as well. I made, what was it now? I think it's weather, because of the weather, but there was 2 Saturdays that I missed putting any videos out. So a total of 3 weeks that I didn't have any content out. And my statistics for then, they were only just recovering now, and we're like a month and a half after. Got to keep that going. That's not the reason for this video. I just fancy doing it because I had a video out last Saturday, and I'm working on one for this coming Saturday as we speak. So anyway, there is a short answer to that question, Lisa, and that's just as and when. If you, incidentally, if you hit the subscribe and the notification bell, you will get a notification of when I am going live. So if you've nothing better to do, or you want to stick me on in the background or whatever, then that's great. Always nice to have your company. How's everybody's sales at the minute? That's what I want to know. And the reason I want to know that is for really good reasons, because mine have been frighteningly good. Frighteningly good. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, James. I haven't seen you for bloody ages, man. What's going on? Where have you been hiding? Max is saying, buying and selling is a continuous learning curve, will always be due to dips and spikes in items, as well as other elements you've mentioned in this life. Absolutely, yeah. You just got to keep plodding forward and not take things personally. Not sure I know what VAT is, value added tax. It's currently at 20% in the UK. So if you're buying new items, there will be an element of, if you're buying new items retail on the receipt, there'll be an element that is the element of the total, and at 20% that is value added tax. If you're buying business to business, usually that's quoted separately. So if I'm buying from a wholesaler, for example, they'll give me a price, and that price will be plus VAT. But for retail purposes, it's just on the receipt, and you pay the total, if you will. Hopefully that's a bit clearer. I suppose I'm not quite sure how it works in the States, but I think the comparison will be a state tax. VAT is a national thing in the UK. 100% where you're coming from. It's not until I did the job they realised how money is a tool. Yes, that is very important that you treat money as a tool. I found since doing it full time, and more coming minimalistic and happy that way. That's, do you know what, James? That's absolutely, you've nailed it there. Absolutely nailed it. When I mean, obviously, when you become an adult, when most people become an adult, they start to learn the true value of money and what it means to even just pay your bills, let alone pay for nice things like holidays and cars and whatnot. And I think when you become self-employed, not necessarily just reselling, when you become self-employed, that emphasis on realizing the value of money and what you have to do just to earn the money to pay your bills, you acutely look at that factor. My biggest, I suppose, experience and learning curve has been analysing that. You've got to ask yourself constantly: is my time worth this? Is my time worth that? I made a very conscious decision in increasing my average listing value going into the new year. And I was worried about it because I thought, well, I'm just going to have to do more work. But actually, the opposite is the case. If I'm increasing my margin, I'm actually having to do less work. You've got to constantly ask yourself the question, is what you're doing worth your time? Because as a self-employed person, money's not your biggest asset. Time is. I coined a phrase a while back, and I was like, I even surprised myself. So if you spend as little time as possible earning the money that you need, you will free up time to spend on earning the money you don't. I think I'm paraphrasing myself then. Yeah, so spend as little time as possible earning the money that you need, and then you'll be able to spend that time on earning the money you don't need. That was it. That was a better attempt. 60 in the chat, only 11 likes. Hit that button, everyone. Yeah, I always forget that, Chacha. If you guys can hit that thumbs up on this video, I mean, the lives don't really get much traction anyway compared to uploads, but it's nice to show a bit of love. So if you can hit that thumbs up, it'd be great. I'm assuming that all you guys have already subscribed to the channel as well. So if you can give us a leg up, if you found any kind of value whatsoever in this or any of my videos, like I say, I have absolutely genuine intent. I want to help people. It's not entirely selflessly. I love helping people. I love creating YouTube videos, but the contacts that I've got from doing this have been brilliant, mutually beneficial contacts. So it's not entirely selfless. Well, sadly, can't be part of this really interesting chat. Need to pop in post office before school run. Oh my word. Well, in my previous incarnation, I drove around London a lot. I don't envy you if you're driving anywhere in London. So good luck out there. Just got to return saying football shirt is fake. Great. Obviously, when it gets back to you, make sure it's what you sent out in the first place, and then relist it, move on. That's just the best way to do it. Sales have been fantastic for me. Fantastic. That's always good news. Dave's saying, sales good. All I get is people saying second hand stuff. Yes. Yeah, absolutely, Dave. I think it's almost a horrible thing to say, but because of the cost of living crisis, our businesses are going to benefit from it. In the same way, again, this is a horrible thing to say. The pandemic was good for resellers as well, not in so much sourcing stock, but bored people with nothing better to do, stuck at home for whatever reason, will buy shit they don't need on the internet. Anyway, please do more chats and hopefully random times after 4 p.m. I'll do my best. And I've got my own stuff to get on as well. I'd love to do these all the time. I'd love to get the feedback off people and just interact. I work mostly from home on my own. You guys are my pretend friends. But sadly, I do have to crack on with business shit. It sounds like a plan in regards to selling everything. I'd say give it a go because it's great to have your niche. You may also find that other stuff you enjoy to sell. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and even stuff you don't enjoy to sell, you just get kind of a bit of a spidey sense to tell you that it's something you need to be looking at and learning new stuff. That's I have a great passion for learning new stuff, and still to this day, it's as big. The kick that I get today is as big as when I started, from when I find out something I didn't already know. Picking up, I mean, yeah, it's great to pick up something for a couple of quid and turn it into a couple £100. That's almost an arbitrary kind of thing for me. It's learning that bit, learning that new item that's in the back of my mind, and I can pick up. And over time, you're constantly adding to that arsenal. So step out of your comfort zone. As long as you're not leaving yourself exposed, that would be the rider to that. I mean, don't invest in something that you can't afford to invest in and it be a gamble. But if you can afford to lose the money, that's probably the best way to describe it, then absolutely give it a go. Absolutely. I ordered a pair of earrings on Amazon recently. I got 100 planes. Brilliant. Okay, right, I'm going to skip right down to the bottom. Falco's Flips, someone I follow very ardently. Still, have we met? Can't remember. We might have. Apologies if we have. Right, last couple of. Right, we've gone 10 minutes over. Who cares? It's about 8:20 here in Texas. Still need to do my shift for the day and to post office. Really glad I caught this live. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, Cheshire. Hopefully, we'll converse some more in the future. Enjoy the rest of your day. Last comment of the day from Chop. A difficult one, a shirt return. I'm at sea from Saturday. I'll have a refund after posting. Hope for the best. Yeah, that's all you can do. Just trade through. Hopefully it's not a big sting, and hopefully it gets back to you in the condition you sent it, and actually the item you sent in the first place. Just relist it, and away we go. Yeah, thanks for the vids. The past couple of months, just started reselling, loving it. Absolutely tremendous to have you, Liam. Because we like Kath, everybody likes Kath. Definitely the last comment of the day. Quick tip, don't go to Costco for petrol if you're in a hurry. Brilliant, Kath. Absolutely brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure spending time here this afternoon. I'm going to crack on with some listing now. I hope your sales are absolutely smashing it, and make the most of the remainder of the boot sale season. Start planning. You should have already started planning, but start planning for the run into winter. Keep that ball rolling. Keep marching forward. Even if you're moving at 1 mile an hour, you're going to be lapping everybody sat on a settee. Love you lots. Thank you for joining me. I've been Dave Keefe. You have been amazing. See you soon.